So this morning I seen the video that Tim Paul put out about James O'Keefe, who was removed as CEO of Project Veritas, and he gave a full speech. And I usually don't have the patience to listen to it all the way through because, quite frankly, stuff like that bores me. However, it didn't. And the reasons that he said don't actually add up. They don't make a great deal of sense. He took a business, or took a project, and ended up managing to get employees, managing to get donors, managing to graft day in and day out and jet your way all the way across America numerous times a year. Meanwhile, reporting on stuff that wasn't getting reported on. Now, I did wonder how Project Veritas made it boom. Just 1 minute, I've never heard of it. Next minute, it's everywhere. But that's the way things go sometimes, not all the time. Are they controlled? I don't know. And unless you're working there, we'll never know. But whether they would be controlled or not, they got the story out just about the people who work for a certain pharmaceutical company and what their intentions were. If you haven't seen the video, I would be surprised because it went viral and everybody got to hear about it. They were talking about things mutating and stuff like that. Something way above my pay grade that I don't understand. Either way, it didn't sound good. Now, it wasn't just one video, it was two. He got a guy to meet the guy and secretly film him in a bar. And then after that, he went to see the guy directly himself with a team, at which point the guy sort of attacked him and tried to lock him in the place and then lost his mind. And at the same point, they managed to get the company, which I believe is Pfizer, to admit that, A, what had been reported about this thing mutating was something that actually was happening, although they, as he says in his speech, buried it in a load of jargon, but nevertheless, it's there if you read through it. And also they admitted that this guy worked for them because immediately speaking, people were coming out saying that, oh no, he doesn't work for them, rah, rah, rah. So they've managed to do that. What I would say is that regardless of his reporting in the early days, and he did get a lot of grief, I think he got put under house arrest, or he says so in this, and he's had to fire people along the way, which won't win you any friends, by the way. But if you need somebody who's up to the job and the people who were working with you when you were small were up to that job, but as it got bigger couldn't cope, then they can't do the job. It's unfortunate, but there you go. So he's had to replace people, and he's quite ruthless. He admits that he finds it very difficult to show any great emotions for a lot of the people around him. He's not really personally interested in their personal life. Well, I can get that if you're focused on something. You know, some people don't feel the need to know what your dog's name is and what your wife's name and your children's name are. It's just really not important to them. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You're there in a work position, and that's the way it goes. So he said that was one of his faults. Apparently, they didn't like the way that he was using black cars to get around. And they also said that one of the things that they didn't like is that he spent money on his wedding. He's never been married, although I think he got pretend married once at work as part of a, I don't know, some form of a laugh. I had to call something out, whatever. Other than that, they didn't like the way he used a private jet. But how do you get to 3 different parts in America, knowing how big the place is, and have 3 different meetings on the same day? It's not physically possible to do it via a car. So you have to organise transport. And if you can't get all the different planes that the carriers lay on, then you'll have to get one for yourself. Not cheap, I'll admit. However, the very fact that those meetings yielded £2 million in donations, I would suggest is worth the jet. But that's just me. He actually shows during the video how much money they were pulling in years ago and how much they're pulling in now. They are pulling in some coin now, but I can't imagine it being too cheap to support the CEOs, to support all the staff, to support the trips, and all the other things and expenses that goes into running a company as big as Project Veritas. So everything he's done allegedly, according to him, properly. They filed all their reports on finances as and when was required. So there's no wrongdoings there. His question is this: why is it we did fine right up until that, when we exposed this thing, then all of a sudden the company directors, or this, whatever you want to call it, are all turning on him? And also they're going up to the staff and going behind their back saying, you know, if you help us get rid of him, you'll get a few extra quid in your pay. Well, you get a wage rise. That's illegal in itself. But I don't think this is the end of James O'Keefe, not at all. in fairness, I would probably like him to see him return to Project Veritas and the limp-wristed management team there removed. Unless, because we're only getting his side of this, but he said he's got all the paperwork and everything to, or as they say, I have the receipts to prove it. It's such a gash term. But anyway, apparently he's got all of that. And one of the things that they said, he said, well, you know, the people who support us part of the reason because I'm CEO, right? I built the company up. They're trusting me. They know what my direction is. They know that my reporting is honest. So with me removed, how do you think this is going to affect the people's opinion? And apparently the answer to that was they don't have to know. Well, that's dishonest, obviously. And the people who give money to something deserve to know who's at the helm. So there was a lot of it that didn't add up. And I have to say it was quite a theatrical presentation that he gave. The pauses, you know, but whatever. I will say this, though. If he sets up his own business, I don't think he'll have any problem gaining financial supporters or other people. I would imagine that he is an incredibly difficult person to work with. You can kind of pick that up in your body language or a body language of a person. I was picking up that he would be quite difficult to work with. But that's the way of it. If you get results, you know, you can't be all things to all people, can you? But I just thought it was interesting. So this is going to be one of those sagas. You know, there it was. What do we have the other day? We had the guy that fell out with that, and he was claiming about his money and all the rest of it. He's going to set something up. Now, this... But as I say, it does sound very, very strange that the moment they reported on something like that, how it falls apart at the top. Questions you could ask is, have people put pressure on the other directors? Have they been visited? Have they had threats? They obviously realise that they can't bend this bloke. So have they gone after the weaker links? Because that's always the thing. I mean, I've spent a lot of my life studying on the history behind things, especially America. Especially within government, dirty dealings, the way that the FBI worked, the way the CIA worked, the way that the hidden hand, if you want to call it, worked, the way the banking system worked, the way that all of these secret organizations that run around the place that can put pressure on people, that ruin their lives if you don't do the right things. These people are a hell of a force. Did they get to the other people, the weaker links, the faceless people there that, you know, we don't know? I'd suggest that it was probably that, more than him being completely difficult. But here's the other thing. You can set something up, and the people who you bring up with you will eventually want a piece of the action. Some of them will get greedy. Some of them will just have designs on taking your position. And that's never been anything new. That's just the way it goes. So maybe these people had aspirations to become the CEO themselves. Maybe they're a bunch of gits. Maybe that they're not actually interested in reporting on the truth. That, like so many people, they pretend to be this, all that, but actually when it comes to it, they have a totally different agenda and they're out to fill their pockets. I don't know. Tell me. But it's interesting. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on this one because we did get some juicy stuff out of Project Veritas, and it would be a shame to see them collapse. But under the new management, doesn't look good. So we'll keep an eye on that. And I hope you're all well, and I'll speak to you in a bit.